This space, the people who will lead us through this weeks ahead. I'm going to invite 5 of our faculty members to join me here on the stage as I call each name. Please welcome them with a round of applause. Firstly, our festival's founder, curator, and the Himalayan poet himself, who built this gathering from a conviction to an institution. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a big round of applause for Yutsu Sharma. We have the books editor of the Irish Times, a literary journalist of extraordinary range and one of the finest critical minds in contemporary letters. Please come forward, Martin Doyle. Poet, translator, professor at the Whittier College, and one of the most adventurous and intellectually generous writers working in American poetry today. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to Tony Barnes. We have poet laureate of Brooklyn, and a writer whose work holds both the beauty and weight of the world with equal grace. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to Tina Chang. A poet that the Times Literary Supplement called the most significant English language poet born since the Second World War, Pulitzer laureate, T.S. Eliot Prize winner, and Princeton's Howard G.B. Clark Professor of the Humanities. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to Paul Muldoon. And a note on one of our faculty members, Tracy K. Smith, will be joining us in around 2 days. She sends her warmest greetings and will be fully present for our sessions and the remaining program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our faculty. Once again, let's give a big round of applause to our faculty for the Himalayan Literature Festival and Writers Workshop 2026. So before we hear from our faculty members, I want to give the floor first to the person who made this possible, to the poet who looked at these mountains and decided that the world needed to come here and listen, to the curator who has spent around 4 decades proving that literature is not a luxury but a necessity. I'd like to give the floor to Yutsu Sharma. Over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is kind of dream come true, as the cliche goes, you know. I, not in my wildest dream ever think that in this remote Himalayan region, this Himalayan kingdom, capital, all these famous writers would ever come. Because I was, you know, I traveled for all these decades and met people. I used to teach at the university, and then I thought I quit teaching and started traveling. In our part of the world, there's a poet called the devotional poet Kabir. He says, if you want to be a poet, first put your house on fire and come with me. Poet. I literally did that. I quit teaching at the university, and my wife and all my relatives were upset and they were surprised. What is he doing? And then I started traveling, and I had no idea what I'm doing. And over the years, as I traveled and I made friends and learned on the mule paths of Annapurna, as in the boroughs of New York City or in London in the tube, you know, I try to understand the whole fellowship of writing and being in the company of these great poets. And also, I carried with me the fragrance of the Himalayas. You know, as Sanskrit, we have a word for the Himalayas called Devatatma, meaning place where soul of the god lives. So, as you know, yesterday Lara was talking that how you know monkeys were scampering around, and I said, monkeys are holy, they are divine. Even cow is holy, even an ant is holy. So you have come to a very holy place where everything is holy. And in the coming weeks, we are going to go to all these magnificent places. We are going to witness the great drama of life that is being displayed in this beautiful place. You know, as I said in one of my friends who used to come from Ireland, my friend Carlo Shaki, you know, he used to come here, then he got into trouble with this filmmaker. And he said Nepal has 3 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, and tourism. But more than tourism, I want to develop this idea of poetry as a great tourist destination, writing as a destination that Nepal could promote. Because everybody comes to Nepal to see Everest and to see birthplace of Buddha. And like I go to Sligo and go to Year's place. So I want people to come to Nepal, because Nepal, like Ireland, is probably the only place in the world where everybody is a poet. In Nepal, everybody is a poet. You go out and talk to a poacher, talk to the king, even the king, prime minister, economist, finance minister. Everybody is a poet here, which is a strange thing. And only when I went to Ireland, I learned that this is another place where such things happen. And we are delighted to have Paul Muldoon, a very famous, very legendary figure. I couldn't, when he made the arrangement, and I couldn't even believe that he said yes. It took me about 2 days to understand that he's saying yes. I said, Paul Muldoon is coming, you know. So, and then Tracy K. Smith is coming. And so it was like, and even now people don't believe in Nepal that why these famous writers are coming to Nepal. You know, it's a huge thing. It has never happened. An American poet laureate has ever come to Nepal, or an Oxford professor has come to Nepal just for poetry, just to know Nepal, to speak Nepal. And we have, when I'm in New York, I live in Brooklyn. We have Brooklyn's first poet laureate here, and who is a very fine poet. And all these family friends, Martin Doyle, who, because I loved, my daughter was there, so I made connections to Annie. We learned about Martin and read his books and tried to befriend him. And all of my friends when I was traveling, you know, I was in Sacramento. I didn't know where Sacramento is. So a woman from Sacramento wrote to me, you want to come over and read poetry? I had no idea who this woman is. And I just went. I took a flight. And when I went and I landed in the airport, I tried to look around if it was a joke. This woman had joked with me. It turned out to be she was real. And someone who had done something good in Paris, you know, had kind of connected me to her, and it was a kind of gift for that all these connections that built, you know. So while traveling as a poet, I earned these precious jewels from New Mexico, from Boston. There's Ravi Shankar, who was the first one to introduce this Kathmandu thing. And when we faced the New York Writers Workshop 2 years ago, and that kind of ushered whole floodgates of this commotion. And now luckily, I have this young group, Prodigy group, and other groups, and all these magazines, and we have Encel, which is like a Vodafone. You know, it's like a major Nepalese phone company. They are associated with us, and bookshops don't do this kind of festivals. But we have been running this for 30 years, thanks to my wife for her commitment to books and to all this passionate, desire to preserve Nepal's literary life and legacy. And most of the people, I think, these are here. There's Christina Prater, there's Penny Klein, there's Lara, there's Annie Casey, there's people I met, like Mary, I met in New York, one of the readings. And then so it's the world. And then from India, we have these wonderful poets and writers. And my friend Jane Barrett, who shares, with whom I shared all these years, our beautiful apartment, and shared bread and Brooklyn bread, and all the glory of Brooklyn life. Thanks to Jane as well, and other friends who have arrived. And the Provincetown, I was there, and this my friend I mean, she was so generous and took me, I even booked the things for me. The friends you earn over the years as you travel as a writer. So I'm glad to have this. So I look forward to this great interaction in the coming days, and I can just bow to you, all of you, bow to these great literary figures that have come to Nepal and made Nepal a place where literary commotion can take place. Thank you very much. So I'd like to ask maybe Paul to share a little bit on what he's here.
I beg your pardon, what I'm going to do? Yes, sorry. I realise I'm going slightly deaf, and my apologies. Nor indeed did I realise that I might be saying a word or two at this point. But I'm thrilled to be able to say how delighted I am, and indeed my wife is, to be with you here. Kathmandu has, I think,